Carlos, I appreciate you jumping on here today. How have you been?
Very good. Excellent. I just came from the US on the NASDAQ doing a closing bell. So great experience.
I saw that. I highlighted it in my show just last week. Now, SEALSQ and YSAT have had a whirlwind of a quarter. As you mentioned, you just rang the bell at NASDAQ. Can you give us some of the latest developments?
Yeah, so in December, something very amazing happened because, as you know, Google announced the new chip, the quantum chip. And what happened there is that the world got crazy about quantum, right? So quantum was the highlight in December. Companies like Rigetti, like SEALSQ, and many other quantum companies got their valuation skyrocketed. I mean, SEALSQ went to $1 billion market cap in December, trading something like 750 million shares, so something unseen until now. And the reason is because the market is realizing that quantum is actually arriving faster than what we originally thought it will be. There have been some contradictions between the NVIDIA CEO saying that quantum will be in 15 to 30 years. Then that was corrected by Google. They say, no, this is actually happening before. Microsoft did the same thing. Amazon did the same thing. IBM even announced that they already have a quantum computer. So that obviously is making a lot of people nervous because once you have quantum computers, you can break everything, right? You can break RSA, triple DES, all the existing crypto. So companies that they are in the quantum security defense, like the case of SEALSQ, are rocketing now because the market is moving towards acquiring this technology so they can secure their infrastructure. So once the quantum computer arrive, they can defend a quantum attack. Otherwise, imagine the consequence. This is hospitals, this is airports, this is government facilities. Everybody and anyone will be exposed to a quantum attack, right? So that has created an amazing momentum. And the satellite, we launched it in January, the new generation satellite. So those satellite, and I say that because there has been a lot of tweets and everything about what is the relation between the satellite, Hedera, and SEALSQ. So those satellites are being launched by YSAT, which is a company in Switzerland. They are being powered. The electronics inside the satellite is SEALSQ because we are putting a post-quantum chip, which is the one that we announced last week in New York at the NASDAQ. And that quantum chip basically encrypts communication between satellite and any IoT Earth station process. So let's say connected cars, drones, all that is being now track and traceable from the satellite. And the identity of each of those objects is on a ledger. And this is what we're doing with Hedera, right? So as we have now 1.6 billion objects now with those chips on it, in the future will be trillions of them. And every single transaction will go to the ledger and basically validate that this transaction is still active, then the object has not been dismantled or the object has not been compromised. So all that identity, which is on the ledger, is verified by the user. And once that identity verification is done, then you authorize the transaction. And then the objects start to pay each other with seal coin, right? Which is what we are doing with Hedera and the hash graph. So it's a very powerful architecture because you are basically touching every single component, right? You are at the object level because you are putting the chip. In the inside the chip, you put the post-quantum capability so you can defend a quantum attack. Connectivity with the satellite is guaranteed by that connection. The satellite processes the identity through the ledger in Hedera, and all that is being paid now with seal coin. So it's a really, what I will say, one of the most practical M2M, machine-to-machine transactional system on Earth. I mean, nothing similar is being deployed. So big endeavor, but now we obviously have the capability and the size to get that challenge done.
So, Carlos, I was going to ask you this a little bit later, but since we're talking about quantum resistance at this point, for the layperson, is there any way that you can explain how you achieve that post-quantum resistance?
So our chips are, we started to develop chips many years ago, and the roadmap of the chips, at the beginning, chips don't have security. If you buy an XP or you buy one of those chips, the security has been not the number one concern for them. They have been more the processing capability. That's why NVIDIA goes so big, because obviously they are able to move from gamers into AI using the processing power of their chips. But NVIDIA is not a cybersecurity company, neither NXP, and they are not really concerned about hacking that chip, because you're not going to necessarily hack a video game, right? So their DNA was not security. Whether our DNA was security from day one. We really wanted to have a chip that not only powers the device, but also secure the device. And this is unique on us. I mean, there's not many companies doing that. So in the roadmap, we first inject a key, a unique identifier. So this is a crypto key that goes into the chip, into the silicon of the chip. And that key makes the chip unique. So when the chip is installed in the device itself, in the electronics of the device, so let's say a drone or a connected car, that identity of the device is guaranteed by the secure element, which is inside the object. And the verification is done then in a blockchain. And that's the uniqueness. You don't have a centralized database that basically has all the IDs of everybody. This is a totally decentralized level. So in that roadmap, we were the most sophisticated company before the quantum. Then the quantum started to arrive about 2 years ago, that concept of a quantum, what you call a post-quantum chip, which is a chip that will be able to defend a quantum attack. Was very theoretically, because we didn't have access to a quantum computer, so you have to simulate a potential quantum attack without having the computer. But as we got access to computers, to quantum computer, then we started to make real penetration testing on the chip itself, learn how basically able to replace all the current processes, including break all the current keys like RSA. So we need to change those keys. I mean, you cannot use anymore RSA or triple this key to secure your object. And then you have to move into what you call a quantum root key, which we issue. So we issue, this is like a PKI process, we issue around quantum root key. And then we put a new technology at the chip level that is able to defend a quantum attack. So then, as you know, that coincides with the recommendation from NIST, which is the federal government of the United States, that has made a recommendation of what will be the approved ciphers then you will be able to use in those chips. And so we are using them, you know, all these new ciphers that have been approved, they are being tested now in a real environment. So we are now having, obviously there is a lot of work on introducing that in the device itself, because you have to make sure that the temperature is not going to be exceeded. So it's a lot of tests. And now we are operational. So we showed that in Davos, and then we showed that last week in New York at the NASDAQ. And now we're going to go through the approval process, because there are certification bodies and they need to certify the chip before you can put it into the market, right? So that will last, I guess, between 6 and 9 months in the United States, in Europe, in Japan, in the places that we are going to sell the chips. And once the certification is done, then the market is, I mean, the addressable market for that chip now today is $5 billion. And it's about 4 companies, then they have this kind of post-quantum roadmap. So the market is phenomenal. It's very, very big market.
Well done. Now, I know one of the big concerns around quantum computing is around cryptocurrency itself, because, of course, that's the cryptography around that is what secures those networks. Now, Lehman seems like he's on top of this, but can you let us know, because obviously you're going to be using Hedera as well, so why are you not concerned about, you know, these networks getting attacked using quantum computers and so forth?
I was with Dr. Lehman in Davos. You know, we met at the Hedera event in Davos, and I was actually one of the keynote speakers there. We actually discussed that. I mean, cryptocurrencies in general, they are pretty secure, right? Because it's cybersecurity as designed, you know, from the beginning, which is not the case in other industries where security comes later. In cryptocurrency, it comes at the beginning. And that includes blockchain. So what is going to happen is, I don't think we should not be concerned because by quantum. Obviously, you are concerned because quantum can break any cipher, including the existing cipher that they are protecting cryptocurrency. But the evolution is going to be similar to what I'm doing at the chip level. It's going to be done at the blockchain level, right? So Dr. Lehman has a lot of experience on that, and he's totally on the top of the process. And basically what he's saying, because the really danger is going to be in 3 to 5 years when quantum computers will be there. And let's define the risk. I mean, it's not because Google will have a quantum computer then they're going to break the security of American Express, right? Serious companies are going to use quantum computer for serious and honest activities. The problem will be if somebody in a rogue country or a terrorist group acquires or gets into in the hands of one of those supercomputers, quantum computers, they obviously can create a lot of damage. And this needs to be regulated. For the moment, is a kind of Wild West in that there's not really. I think we will apply the same processes that you apply with nuclear weapons. How you can deploy them, who have access to them, who can buy them, what are the countries that they authorize. So it's going to be something similar, because quantum computer has destruction capability, which is equal to a nuclear blast in an infrastructure, right? So no, I think by the time quantum computers arrive, Hedera, and not only Hedera, but the entire blockchain community and cryptocurrency community will have increased their security, so they are post-quantum ready. And that's what you call the quantum resilience process, right? It's a huge opportunity because obviously if you do that before the others, you're going to attract more investors into your token, into your cryptocurrency than if you wait too late, right? And you expose yourself. Same thing applying on IoT.
Well, like you said, I think Lehman is all over this. I think he's going to be well ahead of the curve. It's fascinating stuff, and that's why we spent some time on it here in the beginning. But I want to get into some of the ties around the transactional Internet of Things and the things that you're doing with Hedera. One of the things that jumped out to me was that SEALSQ is going to be supplying microcontrollers for smart meters in 26 million homes there in the UK. Can you explain this a bit? And are they going to be set up for transactional Internet of Things?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is public information, so I can talk about it. This is done with Toshiba and Lansangear and a few other providers of smart meters. Smart meters at home, they are replacing the traditional meters. And smart meters now, they are able to capture energy from solar panels or batteries. Homes are becoming self-sustainable in terms of electricity consumption. And this is obviously a huge opportunity now to tokenize that asset, right? Because electricity is a very easy access to tokenize. A fixed price, for what are the price you are buying, and also what kind of price you can sell in case that you have overcapacity, you have installed enough solar panel in your home or your factory, then you can resell electricity to somebody else that will need it, right? So this is creating a market. So the first thing we have to do is obviously secure those smart meters, and this is the contract. It's over a 5 years contract. Once we secure them, then the chips, the new generation chips, are going to be powering them, the post-quantum chips, so they are actually protected against a quantum attack. Which, by the way, the electrical grid is number one target, because somebody can shut down the electricity of an entire city. And then the business model there is actually you as a user, you could create with your neighbors a small community and exchange electricity tokens between themselves. That's what SEALCoin does. So if you overproduce and your 20 neighbors are overproducing electricity, you become like a small electrical company, right? And you can sell that electricity to somebody else, or you can store that electricity into batteries. So that is creating a B2C market for electricity that did not exist before. Before was only between entities. Now is consumers can get into the game. And obviously, the way you're not going to pay with a MasterCard or a credit card. You need a token that allows that transaction to be negotiated between two entities. And this is one of the use cases that we have done for SEALCoin. There are other use cases, but this is a very concrete one, which I think is going to be maybe during the first year the most popular one and easier to use, due to the fact that those smart meters are coming. And obviously for us it's a great operation because not only we secure and we sell the chips for the meter, but then we enter into a machine-to-machine transaction between those meters, exchanging tokens between themselves.
We've been dreaming about those kind of microgrids since the beginning of Hedera back in 2018. These things take a long time before they actually come to fruition. All the infrastructure has to get out there before we actually start to see the Web3 component come and make its impact. The next question I have is just how long from now do you think it will be before we actually start seeing these machines interacting between one another?
So what you say is a very good question because I mean you're fighting two forces here before this become mainstream. One is the monopoly force, which is the electrical utility company that has a monopoly, right? So
Sure.
why they're going to share with you revenue if they are the ones selling and buying electricity from you? So technology before the meter was only a terminal to the utility company. It was not a smart meter. I mean, it was only a dumb terminal to the utility company. And the electrical utility company control those meters and will not let you talk meters between meter. They have to talk meter to utility, utility to meter, right? So that architecture has been challenged by Hedera and blockchain and the peer-to-peer decentralized architecture, which allows now manufacturers of meters to develop smart meters. Because what is the point to have a smart meter and replace just the old meter if you only have one relation with your utility, right? So that is a big challenge now. Utility companies now, the monopoly, also understood that this actually could be a revenue generation for them as well, because they are buying electricity at a cheaper price than if they buy from traditional sources, right? Actually, the cheapest electricity you can buy now is the one you generate at home, because they're putting prices then they are so low. And that creates the market, because then I can choose, say, okay, if my utility company charged me 5 cents and I can sell to my neighbor for 20, I'm gonna sell my neighbor for 20, right? So that creates a competition into the market. So that's why it's happening now and not before. And this is what Web3 is all about. Web3 is breaking monopolies, right? Web3 is decentralizing from silos to ledgers and decentralization. But it's a fight because now the money is on Web 2.0, right? And not yet in Web 3.0. So that fight of breaking silos, and then you can apply that to data silos, to many other silos, then they are going to be slowly disintegrated because Web 3.0 has a totally new business model, which is more friendly to consumer than it was Web 2.0.
Absolutely. So the next thing I want to touch on is you had that launch in January. I was reading some of your posts, and it sounds like the launch that I believe you're going to have in April has some specific transactional Internet of Things capabilities.
Yes.
How are they different from the satellites that are already in orbit?
So in total, we have launched 20 satellites. The first one were LEO, very low, were a small satellite, low orbit satellite. And the only thing those satellites managed to do was detect a signal from an object through a sensor that we put on the object. Satellites have a life cycle between 3 and 5 years. So satellites disintegrate. So you have to keep launching satellite, right, to maintain the constellation. And what we are doing is we after launching those, we develop a new generation of satellite, which are more sophisticated. They have the cryptographic root key on it. They have a Sealcoin wallet on it, so you can start to exchange Sealcoin between the satellite. That's what we're going to do. We are testing that as we speak now. And the next launch, actually, we're going to make payments from space, right? So that will be something very cool. And for that, you need to put wallet technology at the satellite level and also at the recipient level. And the reason, and I already, because with the SpaceX, you have to reserve because they are big demand on satellite, and they are now using the Starship rocket, which can launch more satellites. So the cost is going to go lower, but you have to design the satellite accordingly their specification, because there is a way, now there's like blades and they leave the rocket in a very, very efficient and fast, because you have to position yourself in the right spot and you have a very short time where those satellite needs to be deployed. So our roadmap is that every single launch we do, we increment the technology. We make the technology smarter. We make the connection more secure. Actually, we are even talking now of injecting AI at the silicon level. This is very unique, because AI is on the cloud thing now. Everybody does that. But we are looking into the possibility of injecting AI at the silicon, at the chip level itself. So the chip becomes intelligent, right? And this opens a total new dimension of the usage of that chip. So this is a kind of roadmap. Every launch, we're going to increment the technology. And that's why we have now 6 has been already booked. So there's going to be 6 new satellites. And then obviously clients arrive and say, okay, I want to rent. For the moment, we are not selling the satellite. We are taking the cost ourselves, but we are renting the satellite. So if you want to use the satellite because you want to do, I don't know, a space, a medical experiment with a new drug, things like that, so you can rent the satellite. And this is obviously more we rent the satellite, more revenue we generate, which allows us to send more satellites and so on. That's the current business model. But I know, but Hedera is, we are only working with Hedera. I mean, this is a very strong commitment from us and Hedera, right, to make that happen. When I talked, by the way, with Dr. Lehman, he loved the satellite story. He told me this is the most sophisticated application currently running in Hedera, in the entire ecosystem of Hedera. This is something that attracts the attention of everybody, because once you solve a problem in the satellite and the space, you can apply that in many other places, right? And in the future, the moonshot of that could be bringing nodes to the space. Imagine creating nodes on the space, and those nodes will be cheaper to maintain because they will not need electricity. They will be powered by solar panel. They will not need air condition because the space is very cold, and it will be very difficult to hack because hacking a satellite is much more complicated than hack a node. This is the kind of evolutions that we will being incrementally adding in the roadmap we have built.
Well, it seems like SEALSQ and WISeSat are staying on the cutting edge of pretty much every front you're working in, and maybe eventually WISeSat or WISeKey could become a Hedera council member and be running a node for that. Another news story that I saw that caught my interest was that SEALSQ is going to be supplying quantum-resistant drones. I believe I read that.
Yes.
To the U.S. Department of Defense, right? So I would guess this doesn't have a Web3 component, but I have to ask.
Yeah, no, sure. So this is started with Parrot. Parrot is the French drone company, which is one of the leading, actually was, I think, one of the founding companies of drone, Parrot. And Parrot is providing drones to the US and French Army. So the first generation of drone did not have security. And so that means that anyone can intercept the drone. So you will be sending a drone and somebody will hack you and take the drone against you. So there was a kind of issue on how to secure that the drone is under the instructions only of the person that is in control of that drone. So what we did, we put microchips inside the drone and microchips into the command center. So if you're a soldier and you carry your drone in the battlefield, you can launch your drone and you are the one piloting your drone. So that was the first generation. And there are two companies in the United States, and they are providing drones to the US Army. Parrot is one, and there's another one which I forgot now the name, but it has been announced in the NASDAQ tower. So the next generation, and this is what we're already working on, the next generation, is that even, the new concept of the battlefield concept is that you don't want to have command center in a centralized location, because a hypersonic missile can blow that away and then you lose the total control of your infrastructure. So Web 3.0 is actually a very good design for battlefield in the future, because it's a decentralized. If somebody attacks one center, that center gives control to the next center and so on. So it's never in one place and it's totally decentralized, which reduces the risk of shutting down that infrastructure. So that applies to drone as well. Drones will be able not to be anymore under the unique supervision of a soldier, of a person, but will be on drones airport or drone ports, that they are all sitting there. And once you give instructions to the drone, they leave, they do whatever they need to do, and they return back again to the drone port. And this is a new design, again, where the authorization is given by the person that have control to that specific drone. That can apply not to military application, but agriculture, controlling traffic, or police control of cities. Drones obviously are becoming ubiquitous, and this technology provides that level of control that before they didn't have it.
Okay, understood. So you've already talked about the one kind of launch, actually putting your satellites into space. You have another kind of launch that's going to be coming up. You've already talked a bit about your SEALCoin. Can you give us some more details around that, when we can expect it, how exactly it's going to be used in transactional Internet of Things, and so on? So
SEALCoin is very advanced. As you know, SEALCoin is a joint venture between Hedera and WISeKey. So we are working with Hedera engineers together with ours. We fully deployed the tokenomics, which was once more the important part. Technology is ready, but we don't want to launch a token without having concrete proof of concept. I mean, we don't want to speculate on the token, basically. We want to have 3 or 4 concrete applications, and they're already running on it. One of them is the smart meters, as I mentioned before. The other one is on drones. The third one will be on cars plugging electricity. So we are verticalizing, and we are teaming with very large companies. Then they are industry leader on that specific application, right? I cannot disclose all the names, but they are very big names. Some of them, they are in Hedera Council, by the way. And that will create the required proof of concept to start to put the token into the exchanges. I think that will take maybe 3 more months, 4 more months, but for sure by the end of the year, CL Coin is available to the public, yeah.
Well, I certainly can't wait for that one. I'm going to get involved if I can. Carlos, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to pass on?
No, just to, I was in Davos with the CNBC. I was a speaker, and there's a very big conference in Singapore with the name Convergence. That's the name of the conference. I am going to be speaking as well there. But I think the name is very good, because actually that's what is happening now. And that's why you can see that we are doing many things, but at the end of the day, they are converging. We are in a process of convergence on technology. So AI is feeding data, quantum is accelerating AI, cybersecurity is being secured by quantum, space is the next internet frontier. So all those things are getting together in a kind of very powerful infrastructure, which obviously Hedera has a major component of it. So there are going to be massive exponential growth that can be achieved here due to that exponentiality. Because before, companies will invest, okay, I'm going to invest in AI, or I'm going to invest in blockchain, or I'm going to invest in IoT, but they only have a piece of the entire puzzle, right? Where things are getting together. And in the future, companies will not necessarily need to go to all that complexity. They will just plug and play and benefit from that convergence that will be provided by companies like ours. So it's a very exciting moment for technology. Really, I think we're going to be talking Web 4.0, and that is the industrial web, right? The one that will interconnect trillions of devices. So there's a very interesting prospect in technology now.
Well, thanks for bringing us closer to that goal. Thanks for coming on today and giving us an update on SEALSQ, and thanks for your dedication and for building on Hedera.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and interviews. I appreciate it. Thank you, Brandon.